Hi, this is Harry Margolis with our next video in our Estate Planning 101 series. This one is on special needs planning. What is it all about? Well, what it's all about is your child who has a disability, or perhaps your grandchild. And it's also about any able-bodied children, grandchildren you have, because it protects all your family. In terms of your child with a disability, probably he or she should not have money in her name. So it's important that it be in a special needs trust, and setting up a proper plan also doesn't overburden her siblings, so that they know exactly what their role is and is not in taking care of her, and what the story is with any funds that you leave them. So the problem with putting funds directly in your child's name is the possibility of mismanagement if they're not able to manage money. It may disqualify them for getting public benefits, and it makes them potentially victims of predators, whether through fraud or through people just sort of more directly trying to get at their money. And and as I said earlier, if things go wrong with the money, it puts more burden on your other children. So one solution that some people go to is simply disinherit the child with special needs, so they don't receive the money, and solves a lot of the problems, and it's simple. The problem is it's insecure. It means there's nothing no funds are dedicated to that child. It can be unfair to your other children if they inherit funds and are not sure whether they're supposed to use them for themselves, or whether they're supposed to use them for themselves or for the child with special needs. And there can be problems if one child devotes his inheritance to the child with special needs and other children don't. It can create animosity within the family. There's some inflexibility, because it means once the money's gone out, it's not there for the child with special needs, and you can't change it. And then another problem with it is if others want to contribute to that child's care, say aunts and uncles or grandparents, there's no vehicle for accepting those funds. So the better solution is the special needs trust. It's secure, it's fair to all, it's flexible since the funds can be used or not used, it can accept contributions from others. The only problem with it is you got to think about it in terms of setting it up, and you'll have to pay an attorney to help draft it. And if you use an independent trustee, you may have to pay the trustee. So what are the elements of a special needs trust? Some of them are the elements of all trusts. You have to name a trustee to manage the funds. The trust itself should be totally discretionary. You cannot have a trust where the trust has an obligation to pay out for the beneficiary. The trust may have a trust protector. That's somebody, whether they get this title or not, but who's somebody who watches out for the beneficiary, so they can monitor accounts, they can change trustees. In some cases, they can even change the terms of the trust if necessary. And the trust can be revocable or irrevocable. In most cases, it can be revocable, since it's probably not going to be funded until your death. So you may want to, if you want to make any changes, you're able to. The reason you may want to make it irrevocable is if others might contribute to it. Again, we mentioned earlier that aunts, uncles, grandparents may want to contribute, in which case it should be irrevocable, because if they contribute to a revocable trust, it's as if they're giving the money to you, and that could be problematic. And in terms of funding, that can be something to think about. So you can just simply give all your children equal share of your estate. You can make sure that the trust has a minimum or maximum, and the rest gets split among your other children. Something that I always like is you split your estate equally, but also buy some life insurance to make sure there are sufficient funds in this trust, so that you're fair to everybody in terms of what you own going to everybody equally. But since your child with special needs may need more funds, you can provide those extra funds with a life insurance policy. And if it's a term insurance policy, it's not going to be that expensive. Now, we've been talking throughout about what's called a third-party trust, a trust that you are creating for someone else, your child. Now, there's also something called a self-settled trust, which is a trust that you create for your own benefit. And that'd be a trust that your child or you on your child's behalf would create if they had any money of their own, whether they became disabled at a later age after they worked and earned money, whether they inherited funds, whether they were injured and got a personal injury award. Any situation where they have their own money, you would create what's called a D4A trust, and that's a statutory reference to provisions that allow you to create a trust with your own funds for your own benefit and still get benefits such as Medicaid, Mass Health in Massachusetts, public housing, or SSI. So those are the basics. If you want to learn more about special needs planning or any other part of estate planning, there are a lot of resources on our website at margolis.com, other podcasts, webinar recordings, legal guides, handouts, and I also have a website called askharry.info, where if you post a question, I'll provide an answer. Thank you.